Welcome back to another episode of the Cracked Open Podcast. I am your host, Goddess Telly, and it is Soulful Sunday. I don't know. I woke up saying, I believe it was Joyful Sunday, Soulful Sunday, Big Worm, Big Perm, Big, I don't give a damn. You understand? It is July the 12th, 2026. Universal Day 11. Universal Day 2. Soulful Sunday, Solar Plexus Plexus. You understand? We have the Sun in Gemini. We got Mars in Taurus, Mercury in Gemini, Venus in Leo, and Saturn in Pisces. The word of the day is reflection. The word of the day is reflection. Okay? Hold, please. All right, y'all. Welcome back to another episode of the Cracked Open Podcast. Again, it is Sunday, July the 12th, 2026. We got 11 day, we got a 2 day. You add all this up, you get hold on, because my math be off a little bit. Yeah, it's how I do the math. So I got, and that's why I'm amplified too, because it's a 2 day. It's a 2 day. I'm born on the 20th. So normally when I hit like the dates of the 2s, the 20s, the 22s, I'm amplified. I'm extra, I'm elevated, and ain't nothing wrong with that. So the 11, universal number 11, is the number of intuition. It is the number of illumination. It is the number of spiritual insight. When we reduce it to a 2, we're reminded that relationships, communication, cooperation, and balance all come into focus. How fitting, right? Because today's lesson is about communication. Today's lesson is about assumptions. Today's lesson is about the stories we tell ourselves about other people. And today is Solar Plexus Sunday. The solar plexus is the center of identity, confidence, personal power, and ego. Not ego as in arrogance, but ego as in who am I? How do I see myself? How do I allow other people to define me? And maybe the biggest question is, am I responding from my truth, or am I reacting because my ego feels a bit challenged? You understand? Recently someone told me something that made me stop and think. Like, they said I cut them off, and they said I do it quite often. You understand? They said I don't always let them finish speaking. I'm not going to pretend that didn't bother me, right? Because it did. Because I genuinely see myself as someone who listens. Now, hear me out. Now, I can I interrupt people? Hell yeah. Can I, interrupt people? Hell yeah. I've admitted that before. I've even told my community it's something I'm actively working on. Sometimes I get excited. Sometimes my mind is already connecting 3 ideas before the conversation even catches up. Sometimes I interrupt because I'm trying to protect the quietest voice in the room from getting drowned out. That's something, and sometimes I be the quietest one in the room. Hence why I am getting loud, So that's something that I have to continue working on, and I will. Growth never stops. Growth never stops. But here's where I draw the line when it comes to this shit, though, right? Someone also told me, you should know I have communication issues. Hold, please. How would I know that? Empathy? Absolutely. Mind reading? No. If communication is something that you're working on, I support that. I'm working on my communication too. Like, I even did an episode about like communication. I had to realize I don't have a problem with communicating. Communication looks different on everybody. I don't have a problem with communication. Communication, as much as I've always said I got a problem with communication. No. I got a problem with people understanding me. I have a problem with people misunderstanding me, But if communication is something that you're working on, I support that. How many times I say, tell your truth, King? Tell your story, sis. Tell your story, sis. But your healing is still your responsibility. Just like my habits of cutting people off, my habits of, even shutting down or not even want to entertain this conversation sometimes, those are mine. I can acknowledge when I interrupt. I can apologize when I interrupt. I can become more intentional, but I can't carry someone else's healing for them. Been there, done that. I'm not interested. Pick somebody else. That's not how growth works around here. One thing about me, I love learning. One thing about me, I love growing. One thing about me, I love feedback when it's honest. I don't mind looking in the mirror and asking, hey, what can I do differently? What can I do differently? What can you do differently, Telly? Because every season of life teaches us something. I also recognize that sometimes I become a mirror for other people. Sometimes people see themselves in me. Sometimes my questions expose something they haven't even dealt with yet. For real, for real. Sometimes my boundaries reveal where someone else struggles with boundaries. And that's okay. What I'm learning not to accept is projection. There's a difference between a mirror and projection. A mirror reflects what already exists, right? Projection places your story into somebody else's. If I've done something wrong, tell me what I did. Don't tell me who I am. Don't build an entire personality for me based on one interaction. Do not assume that my intention don't assume my intentions because someone else hurt you. I'm not who hurt you. Allow me the space to be who I actually am before you tell me what I am and what I am not. I keep saying this and I'll probably keep saying it. Stop making the mistake of thinking that you know me. Just like people need to stop making the mistake of thinking that they know you. You know my content. You know my live streams. You know my podcasts. You know the version of me that I chose to share. You don't know me. 50 Cent told me that. I know you think, but you don't know me. Ain't that 50 Cent? Who's saying that? No, T.I., man, come on, nigga. You don't know. Wait, is that how it go? I think so. Something like that. We gotta play. You don't know me. That don't sound right, Telly. I'm probably see me on the corner. You don't know me. Probably you know. Say all that hollering and that hooping, baby. Yo, know me. Yeah, that part. I don't be knowing these names. I don't be knowing the words, but it be that you don't know me. Like, cause if you know me, what's my daughter's name? If you know me, what is the procedure? For real, if you know me, when is my birthday? If you know me, if you don't know me by now, you will never, ever, ever know me. Ooh, you understand? Matter of fact, like, I joke all the time. I joke all the time that if we haven't spent at least 15 hours on the phone, 15 hours together, 15 hours outside of the app, you probably don't know me. If we have never stayed on the phone longer than 2 hours just busting it up or just in silence, you don't know me. And honestly, 15 hours is probably still not enough. Social media creates this false sense of closeness. People become familiar with your voice. People become familiar with your jokes, your opinions, your energy. Then they think they've got you figured all out. No. You've experienced moments. You haven't experienced my life. I also host my live streams, my panels differently. I see why people do singles. I see why. I see why people do singles. So you ain't got to put up with nobody else's shit. Part of me doing panels, that's comfort. Right? I see why people do singles. Like, you won't have a platform then. You ain't got a place to talk. You understand? But when I'm hosting panels, I host my panels differently. I don't do endless small talk. I like purpose. I like intention. I like conversations that move somewhere. Some people will love that. Some people won't. And that's okay. This is my room. This is my theme park. What should I scream for? You understand? My responsibility is to create the environment that I believe people, the environment I believe serves the people who choose to be there. If someone wants to run conversations differently somewhere else, that's the beautiful thing about these platforms. They can create their own space. There's room for all of us. Okay? Now, let's talk about today's energy, okay? We got the sun in Gemini. And to me, Gemini shines light on curiosity. Curiosity, questions, perspectives. Today's energy invites us to communicate, but also to stay open to learning. The goal isn't to have all of the answers, it's to ask better questions. Mercury is also in Gemini right now. Mercury is communication. Mercury is thinking. Mercury is the stories that we tell ourselves. With Mercury here, words matter. How we listen matters. How we respond matters. Before assuming, ask. Before reacting, understand. Understanding is what I need. Mars is in Taurus. Mars is action. Big Tuesday, 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 Tuesday. But message, pick it up. Mars is in Taurus. Taurus reminds us not to rush. Take your time. What's the rush? Baby, I'm a dog. I'm a dog. I'm a mud. Taurus reminds us not to rush. Build something that will last. Build something solid. Stand on your values. Stand on business. That is what Taurus is. That's that Friday energy. That is that Venus glow. But Taurus don't play. Bull don't beg. Y'all go ahead and download Bull Don't Beg by Telly. That's one of my favorite songs. Bulls don't beg. It's understood. You understand? Build something solid. Stand on your values. Don't let every disagreement pull you into a battle that isn't even yours. The battle's not mine. The battle is the Lord's. You understand? Move with intention instead of impulse. You got Venus is in Leo. Venus asks us, hey, what do you love? What? Who? Not who do you love, but what do you love? What do you love? Are you for sure? What do you love? And then the Leo answers, don't be afraid to let your light shine. Shine a light on me. I ain't hiding no more. You understand? Love yourself enough to stop shrinking just because someone misunderstands you. Your authenticity isn't arrogance. You don't need everyone's approval to be yourself. Now we got Saturn and Pisces. Saturn brings the lessons. We talked about this yesterday, those loot lessons. 616 on the clock. We talked about those lessons yesterday. Discipline, maturity. You know, Pisces asks us to blend. And then that's that Thursday energy too. Because like Pisces asks us to blend structure with compassion. Louder for the people in the back, Telly. Louder for the people in the back, Telly. Pisces asks us to blend structure with compassion. We can have boundaries and still be kind. We can be accountable without carrying burdens that don't belong to us, right? Compassion doesn't mean taking ownership of someone else's healing. As I look ahead to this week's new moon, I'm thinking about reflection. Not just looking in the mirror, but looking beneath. What lies beneath? Looking at my foundation, my emotions, my roots, my story. What built me? What patterns am I ready to release? What wisdom has been growing underneath the surface all along? Those are the questions I'm carrying with me. So today's affirmations is this, right? And repeat after me. I welcome reflection without accepting projection. I welcome reflection without accepting projection. I take responsibility for my actions, not for stories other people create about me. I take responsibility for my actions, not for stories other people create about me. I honor my growth, protect my peace, and allow my light to shine without apology. We have 5 journal prompts for today, ladies and gentlemen, gods and goddesses, germs and worms. Um, what's one assumption people often make about you that isn't true? Please answer. What's one assumption that people often make about you that is so not true? It's to the point that you be wanting to just light hell on fire again because it's just not true. Number 2, where am I being invited to grow instead of becoming defensive? Questions, pick it up. Where am I being invited to grow instead of becoming defensive? Number 3, am I reflecting truth or projecting old wounds? Am I reflecting truth or projecting old wounds? Number 4, what part of my identity am I reclaiming this season? What part of my identity am I reclaiming this season? What foundation am I building that my future self will thank me for? What foundation am I building that my future self will thank me for? Remember, growth requires honesty. Healing requires accountability. Wisdom requires reflection. And not every opinion deserves a permanent place on your spirit. Opinion is opinion. Everybody is an asshole, right? I'm Goddess Telly. Thank you for spending this time with me. Thank you for allowing yourself to be cracked open. Hold, please. Calling all creators. Are you a creator, an artist, a musician, a business owner, a poet, a chef, a healer, someone with a story the world needs to hear? The Moon Baby Alchemy Experience is looking for creators who are ready to be seen. This isn't about competition. It's about collaboration. We're bringing together people from all walks of life to share their gifts, tell their stories, and inspire others. If you've got something the world didn't know that it needed, we want to hear from you because your story could be the very thing that helps someone else heals. Hold, please.